Now, if I was to run this test right now, it would pass, because even though I'm creating a lot of test content here and I'm destroying the test content here, I'm not actually doing anything in my test. There's no exception going to be thrown here. It's not going to fail. It will always pass. Okay, so let's put in a quick little assert equal. Now, the method that I'm testing over here, get featured children, the purpose of this was to give me all children of the current item that have the checked field ticked. Okay, we can see here quite plainly that there's going to be an error here because it's returning me all children, not just those that are ticked. Based on the test data here, we have 5 children. Only 3 of those should be ticked. So if I come into here and say my expected is 3, and the actual is going to be the number of items I get back from that method. So we'll come up here, var items equals, and I'll just go and grab that namespace. Item util, get featured children. Okay, now you can see there's another issue right here. Okay, over here I'm using the Sitecore context item. The Sitecore context item in the case of my test is probably going to be null, and the reason for that is I'm actually hitting a file here. Okay, I'm not hitting an item, so the context item is likely to be null, meaning no matter what I do, this execution is going to fail. Okay, I need to alter my test method to make it more testable. Sorry, the method under test to make it more testable. Okay, and that's not actually a bad thing. It's quite good to make your things more testable. To make it more testable, I need to pass it in the item that I'm wanting to get the featured children for, and not assume the current context item. So I'm going to pass in here the test root. Okay, that currently won't compile. Let's come over here, let's alter this. We're going to pass in the item now. So instead of using the current context item, we'll use that method that's passed in. That parameter, sorry. Okay, so I can complete my assert now. Items.length. Okay, compile that. All is good. Let's come over to our test runner. Let's just refresh that. Wake Sitecore up because it's probably gone to sleep by now. And now let's run the test. Okay, now as we can see here, it failed, which is what we expected. We expected 3, but the result was 5. And we know that the reason for that is because over here in our test method, we're just returning all children. Okay? Now, when you're writing your unit tests, it is actually quite important to see a test fail. And the reason we want to see the test fail before we see it pass is so that we know that we are actually testing something real. We are actually testing the condition that we're looking for. If we only ever saw it pass and we never saw it fail, how do we know that our test is working effectively to actually check the fail condition? Okay, so let's come into here now. Let's alter this. So I'm going to say off the current item, and the children. Let's use some link to return this. So from child in item.getChildren. Okay. Where now we check for that checkbox. Checkbox field off the item. So child.fields. Now that constants class, I can't actually use that here because that's inside the test runner project. If I was doing this properly, that constants probably should actually exist in my util project, and I would reference that from the test runner. For the purposes of demonstration, let's not worry about it right now. So we've got that field, we've got the checkbox, and we're checking for checked. And then we want to select that child if that condition is true. Now this is going to return an IEnumerable, which is not actually what we want. We want an array of items, so we wrap that up and say to array. Okay, so now what we're doing, we are actually checking in here for the featured checkbox. Let's compile that. Let's come back over to our test runner. Let's refresh. And now let's run our test. And we get a pass. And that's it. So there you've seen how we can start writing our tests. Now, this test that I've got in here is by no means complete. Okay, you wouldn't just write a single test to check a single condition. We should also be checking when there are no children, when there are 100 children, maybe if there's 1,000 children, and various other conditions. So don't stop there. Don't get a false sense of hope just because you've got one test passing. And I'll leave that with you now. So good luck with your unit testing in Sitecore.